Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we set up the entire ore generation area with E10 for sieving, void extraction, and both types of rock filtration. All materials are processed down to crushed ore, which will be handled later. Today, I want to massively beef up my infrastructure in preparation for the upcoming update. Right now, I have one void extractor, and I'm kind of just storing the ore. I'm not even processing it. Remember, my goal was to store everything as crushed ore like this. So I need a macerator to grind up the raw ore into crushed ore and then store that. And also I need a bunch of machines to process all of the sludge dust. After that, now that I can do this in HV, I also need to process the molten ore mixture and mixed mineral residue. Also, it would be nice to replace these two MV single blocks with some multis, I think. And I want to do that over here. However, the macerator is one of the machines that I'm currently unable to make because I'm missing bismuth. I also need the large cutter so that I can cut geodes. All of this is going to be part of the ore generation area. So, to get my hands on some bismuth, I just need to take some mixed mineral residue and electrolyze it. It's that simple. HV electrolysis, but I just need to electrolyze this to make crushed savarskite, and then that can be turned into bismuth. I may as well place the electrolyzer, or at least plan out the area and build a building, because I don't want to just lawn base. I do want to have some pretty massive, imposing buildings constructed, so I do need to plan out this area a lot because I need to move some things around. Things are not really in the best spot that they could be. Okay, I got myself a little bit of bismuth. Let me show you something really cool. Check this out, right? So I have a pattern provider here with custom encoded processing patterns. So let me show you the macerator one. It looks like this. I don't know why there's gaps here, but it's an HV macerator, an upgrade kit to convert it to the controller, a maintenance hatch, and 24 blue steel casings. So now if I request the large macerator controller, I get all of this stuff, and it's all just deposited into this chest. That will leave the craft hanging because the system expects something to happen, but obviously nothing's gonna happen. This stuff is just gonna sit in the chest like this. So I'm gonna make an autocomplete card. This says it automatically completes the crafting job, which basically means once the inputs are delivered through the pattern provider, the system will just consider the job done immediately. So it doesn't wait for an output to confirm that the recipe is complete. Okay, let's scale this up. Ore generation. Oh my god, this took me literally like 3 days to build. This took a while. To be fair though, I was playing a lot of other games at the time, so realistically this could have been done in 1 day, probably. Anyway, this is kind of not my favorite setup. Believe it or not, it looks great and stuff, and it works really well. But I just really wish sticky cards were in this version, but they're coming in the next version, so I can refactor this and clean it up, and then my brain will be happy. But right now, it's a little unhappy because things can and inevitably will get clogged because of no sticky card. First of all, let me talk about the building. You see these glowing blocks? These are borderless lamps from GregTech. You can make them in all kinds of colors. You can make them inverted. You can make them with no bloom. You can make them with no light. There's quite a few variations, but they're all pretty easy to make. It's just an assembler recipe with some glowstone dust, glass panes, and dye. Dye is mildly annoying to make, but I didn't make that many blocks over here. This is like a stack and a half or something, or maybe less, I don't know. But yeah, also look at these blocks. These are so cool. The framed stacked edge slope. You can color it with 2 different colors. So the vertical and horizontal faces, these get the same color. And then the diagonal one gets its own color, which can be the same if you want. It costs 2 bit blocks here, for example. Or it could be different, like here with the orange concrete. I tried to use the borderless lamps, but for some reason it doesn't work. Unfortunate, but this is also pretty good. I think this looks pretty nice. This side is a little underdeveloped. I don't know what else to say about it. All right, now the technical stuff. So I've moved some things around, like the sieves are over here now instead of over here. Everything is connected to AE2, which I will explain in a sec, but first let me talk about the layout. So the sieves are here. Everything is powered through converters and laser nodes. This is just a big laser node network powering everything. I have a pyrolyze oven here to make creosote oil, which I need for lubricant for drilling fluid for the void extractors. This setup is untouched. This is the seawater into salt, saltpeter, and rock salt. The grinding wheels are mostly the same. I've added one more lane to this grinding wheel. This makes crushed blackstone, which is sent into AE2. And I make blackstone using the igneous extruder. This needed blue ice, which needed a bunch of ice, which I was able to make by freezing some water into liquid ice, which doesn't make sense, but okay. And then solidifying it into blocks. And then that gets compressed into packed ice, which gets compressed into blue ice. This has been moved around a little bit. Instead of sending the lubricant straight into the mixer, I send it into AE2 and then route it into the mixer because I also need lubricant for other stuff. Here's the AE network. Everything is done with wireless just because I couldn't be bothered to run cables everywhere. Too much spaghetti. I'll pay the EU cost, it's fine. 8 void extractors, 4 macerators, 1 electrolyzer here, 4 electrolyzers here, 1 electrolyzer here. I will get to how everything is routed pretty soon. Centrifuge, 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 centrifuge. And over on this side, I have my rock filtrators, 1 for gravel, 1 for sand, and 2 large cutters. I finally made the multi-blocks. This is what I needed the extra lubricant for, because this uses lubricant to cut stuff. This, by the way, doesn't have parallels, at least not the simple parallels that you may be thinking of. It has throughput boosting, which is a type of parallel. It does 4 recipes at a time, but it takes longer. It takes a little bit longer, and it costs a little less EU. So it's kind of like a weaker parallel. That's all it is, nothing special. Now, the tough part of this explanation, the AE2 setup. So everything is, of course, on a subnet. As you can see, I have a controller. This is not part of the mainnet. I have a bunch of storage cells. Pretty much all of these have equal distribution cards, and they're all partitioned. So each item in the partition list gets an equal amount of space on the storage cell. So for example, if you had 16 different things on each storage cell, each one of them would be able to store 1024 bytes worth of material. I have a fluid storage cell set to store creosote, distilled water, lubricant, and drilling fluid, which are the 4 fluids involved here. I have another fluid storage cell for all the intermediate fluids that need to get processed. I have 1 item storage cell for stone dust because stone dust is currency. Stone dust is GDP. The more stone dust you have, the richer you are. That's a fact. And basically, all of these item storage cells are basically sorted or partitioned to be either intermediate products like raw ores or dusts or stuff like that, or the final product of this area, which is the crushed ores. And over here, I have basically the same thing, along with an infinity cobblestone cell and this item storage cell, which is sort of filtered, sort of not. So I have it set with an inverter card to be these 4 sievable materials, so dust, gravel, sand, and crushed blackstone. This means that these 4 things cannot enter the storage cell, but anything else can. So this is kind of my overflow cell, which I'm forced to use because everything will get clogged if I don't have one, and it's full, so everything is clogged right now. And this is why I wish I had sticky cards, because if I had sticky cards, I wouldn't have to deal with overflow because the machines themselves would just back up with material. But without the sticky card, yeah, it's a bit annoying. Anyway, macerators here share this middle input bus among all 4 of them, and I'm stocking all the different raw ores here. Similar thing over here. I would have quad shared both these input buses if I could, but obviously I can't, so it is what it is. This large electrolyzer electrolyzes rare ore residue. These 4 large electrolyzers electrolyze the mixed mineral residue, and then all of these different spots are just fluid outputs and item outputs. So there's only 1 input here, actually. And then this 3rd and final electrolyzer is currently clogged. But it's supposed to be electrolyzing the rare metallic residue dust. This is what gives me the silver and calcite. So I guess I'll take out a little bit. Pretty soon I will get access to a ME tag storage bus, which could be pretty useful in routing dusts and crushed ore into the ore processing subnet, which I'm yet to build. But I need an EV assembler for that, so it's probably gonna have to wait until theta. These centrifuges, let's start with this one. We centrifuge a raw ore slurry. This gives me some fluids and some items. Here I centrifuge the oxygenous mineral mixture, and then in the next one I centrifuge the sulfuric mineral mixture. So with that we cover basically everything over here except for the molten ore mixture stuff, because this needs a distillation tower, which I haven't built yet. So all of these ores are kind of just sitting trapped in this molten ore mixture, which if you take a look at the terminal, I have a lot of. Almost 2,000 buckets worth. Over here in this second wing of the building, I've got the filtrators and the cutting machines. So the filtrators make geodes, the cutting machines cut the geodes, and that gets us raw ore. And the raw ore is macerated, same as all the other raw ore. This AE network is also connected to the sieves over here. These are kind of full even. This is not a separate network or subnet or anything. This is the same storage. I could have put this drive over there. I just chose to put it here because it's next to the things that it stores. So here I'm storing crushed blackstone and dust and gravel and sand. And in this second 1K ME item storage cell, I'm storing flint and clay, and I have an overflow destruction cart. This basically voids any excess that's put into this. So this is partitioned. Only flint and clay can ever be in the cell, and any excess clay and flint over this amount is going to get voided, which is fine. And finally, I have filtered storage cells for each of the 4 types of sifting materials. I got a lot of stuff now. Pretty nice. So I am a little bit confused as to... this is missing a channel. I just noticed that this had 0 crushed blackstone, but my crushed blackstone is going, so I have miscounted channel somewhere. I just need to make something dense, probably from here to here. That'll fix it. Easily fixed. Yep, there we go. And cool, what else is connected to E2? Here, the crushing wheels. I added a second cobblestone igneous extruder too, by the way. And I've upgraded all of these with improved pipe upgrades. These need MV components and 2 basic pipe upgrades, but it's pretty fast. Now everything is just going at full speed. It's pretty good. And the chutes lead into the interface. The interface can only store the items in that cell, so everything is going very well. And finally, this little conglomeration of bullshit. This is actually, you've seen this before, so I'm not going to explain it in too much detail. This makes lubricant and this makes drilling fluid. So yeah, ore generation. The last thing I need to do is go underneath here. And so this is the main net. I really need to start painting these. Anyway, this is the main net over here. This is my P2P carrier subnet. And my main net is connected, or is interfacing with the subnet with an interface and a storage bus. And all I'm doing here is supplying nitrogen and dark oak logs to the subnet from the mainnet, because those are required by the pyrolyze oven to make creosote. That's the only connection I have to the mainnet right now. Without this is a completely isolated, just a separate network completely. To really finish up here though, I need to make my distillation tower, which I think I will, because I need that to fully process the molten ore mixture. Once I get that, there is a bunch of other stuff, which I'm not even sure what I want to do with, but I need this for titanium and for platinum. Sheldonite is another way to get platinum besides the full plat line. And this is probably a bit simpler right now. So I think I will make a distillation tower. I don't need an EV energy hatch. I can do it with 2 HV energy hatches. Should be fine. And I knew I would need to do this, which is why this whole back face of the building is just empty, because it's I've left it open for expansion, which I'm sure I'm gonna need a lot of. Hopefully this lasts a while though. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention that's kind of cool. I am sharing energy hatches, which is something I usually say never to do, but you can, because all of these recipes only use 1 amp worth of power, right? So I can double share it, since energy hatches can accept 2 amps of power, and both machines will be powered. I cannot quad share it unless the recipe needs half an amp of power or less, like in maceration. Maceration has a base EU cost of 2 EU per tick, which is definitely less than half of 32, which means I can quad share the energy hatch and it will work just fine. Overclocking has no effect on anything. It's just it's the fraction of the voltage that matters. It's not the actual voltage number because everything just gets multiplied out. You know what I mean. You're smart, right? Distillation. Pretty simple. Stocking molten ore mixture. Everything else gets sent back. Everything's stored in drives. We're chilling. This metal mixture dust, though, I'm actually going to save it for now because once I get EV energy hatches, I can make an IV mixer, and then I'll be doing this recipe. Lava, stone dust, and metal mixture dust to make more molten ore mixture, and then I can send back to the distillation tower. It seems kind of broken because 2 metal mixture dust makes 20 buckets of molten ore mixture. 20 buckets of molten ore mixture makes 2 metal mixture dust. So is this just infinite stuff from a loop? I mean, I guess everything is infinite because it's a sky block, but I don't know, that feels dirty. It feels wrong. It would make a lot of sense if it was a chance-based output, though. I can't do that till EV energy hatch anyway, so I guess it's a moot point. As for these fluids, I need an autoclave, and I will be making the multi-block autoclave. This is the thing that needed silicone rubber to finish, so I need to make the silicone rubber line really quick. Shouldn't be too bad now that I have all these resources. Actually, I want to pattern it. Yeah, I'm going to pattern it for now. Because I would much rather do all of these recipes in an LCR, because it's going to be so much faster. But the LCR is getting changed kind of soon, so I don't know. Either way, I'm going to pattern it for now. The route I'm going to use, though, is not this direct path with methane, because methane I don't have set up yet through oil. So I would have to do this really, really energy expensive recipe. Also really slow recipe. So instead I'm going to do it with methanol. Doing it this way seems to be a little bit cheaper in terms of energy. Quite a bit cheaper, actually. So I'm going to do it like this. And done. I am making raw ilmenite and tungstate right now. I'm making all of them. This is a bit of a mess. Each fluid needs its own interface. I can't put multiple in the same interface because it could get clogged pretty easily. For example, sheldonite gives me 2250 millibuckets per recipe here, but I need 500 to do a recipe in the autoclave. So it is very possible that eventually I could just have like a 250 millibucket leftover situation and then the interface or the input hatch just gets clogged. So just to avoid that, I decided to give each fluid its own interface. And cool, this is working. I will now make tungstate and titanium. This is going to be awesome. And now this is like done, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Nice. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will set up the oil refinery, generating a vast array of useful hydrocarbons for other crafting. HamCorp would like to remind employees that if you throw up some walls and a roof around your lawn base, the board is obliged to recognize it as a real base. See you next time.